You're looking at maybe like 30 grand for an M16, like 10 grand for like an Uzi or a Mac-10. Belt feds very often go for like 50 grand or higher. Fuck, I just recently saw a Stoner 63, like the one we just did a video on, sell for like $400,000 fucking dollars at Rock Island. What's good, my ninjas? So straight to the point. In this video, I'm going to do exactly what the title says, and I'm going to teach you the ways you can legally own a machine gun right here in the United States. Obviously, we show off a lot of machine guns on the channel for my collection, and one of the most commonly asked questions is, Brandon, how do you get your hands on this stuff? Truth is, there are a couple of ways, so I'm gonna go over that. Now, some of these are dependent on what state you live in. Like if you're in a shithole state such as California, New York, or Iowa, this may not work for you. I mean, actually, shithole states such as California, New York, or Iowa.
That's Nick, the fire electrician. You guys said to me, Eddie, check out Brandon Herrera. Finally checking this guy out. He talks about guns. And I thought machine guns was illegal. I think it's only like, I thought it was only like, you know, if you're part of the police or armed forces, you'll have to have a machine gun. So apparently you can get it legally. Who knows? If I come to the United States, I might get a machine gun. Who knows? But yeah, let's see how you can get it legally. Let's find out. That's sick.
This may not work for you. I mean, actually, Iowa's perfectly legal too. I just can't have Nick thinking anybody actually wants to live there no matter what he says. Also, sorry about my voice. I lost it like a week ago and I have no fucking clue why, so enjoy. But yeah, we've all seen comments on the news, on the internet, just all around where people talk about how machine guns are illegal. And while there are a lot more hoops you have to jump through to own a real machine gun than, say, just like your typical rifle or pistol, there are several different ways for your average non-law enforcement, non-military, Joe Blow civilian to acquire one. In fact, according to the ATF in 2021, there are around 750,000 legally registered machine guns here in the United States.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
So if you're a red-blooded American who's always dreamed about having a fun switch, this video's for you. And if you don't want a machine gun, maybe go get your testosterone checked.
Smell like Betsy here.
Now let me start this by saying the National Firearms Act, which is the bill that basically regulates machine guns as well as suppressors, short-barrel rifles, short-barrel shotgun, and so on, is gay. Not like homosexual gay, but like in the classic early 2000s, just fucking gay. I see it as a constitutional right, but unfortunately, until we get that fixed, this is how you can have a happy switch without having to risk holding somebody's pocket for 10 years in the Aryan nations in a federal penitentiary. But I'm going to be telling you the different ways as well as showing you examples from my collection and tell you kind of how I acquired them. Now, I've kind of done this before.
I'm loving this guy already. The jokes he's making. The joke about holding someone's pocket. I never knew that was real. When I was watching, if you watch Prison Break, there was a scene in Prison Break when some guy to hold somebody's. Prison Break was actually so good. It was so funny. It was something else. But yeah, this guy, it reminds me of Nick. I love the jokes. I love the jokes. You can tell he loves his guns. But yeah. I just thought you couldn't own a machine gun unless you are in the military. But apparently, you can. Again, sorry for pausing. Let's continue.
On the channel, but that was years of collection and tell you kind of how I acquired them. Now, I've kind of done this before on the channel, but that was years ago when I was much newer to this, and I think I only had like 3 machine guns at the time. Now I think I've got like 60 machine guns and counting, and I've learned a lot more since then that I think you'll find useful that I'll tell you in this video. So whether you want to buy one or you're just curious, I'll try to make this as entertaining and simple as possible. So the first way we'll talk about is one that you may be familiar with. It's called a transferable machine gun, or a tranny machine gun. Straight up. I'm not even fucking kidding. That is a real industry term. Don't hate the player, hate the players who came before me who named this shit. Anyway, a transferable is going to refer to any machine gun that was registered before the cutoff date in 1986. Buying or owning a transferable machine gun does not require any additional licenses, inspections, any of that bullshit. As long as you are an American who is not a felon and can pass a background check, you can submit for a $200 tax stamp, and voila, you can buy a transferable machine gun. So pros, anyone can buy these. Cons, anyone can buy these. So they are fucking expensive. This is simple economics, it's supply and demand. Because there's a very high demand in the gun nut circles for owning machine guns and a very limited supply of pre-86 registered machine guns, price goes to the fucking moon. You're looking at maybe like 30 grand for an M16, like 10 grand for like an Uzi or a Mac-10. Belt feds very often go for like 50 grand or higher. Fuck, I just recently saw a Stoner 63, like the one we just did a video on, sell for like $400,000 fucking dollars at Rock Island. Now, it's not all ridiculous. Like, you can find some pretty cool stuff for under 10 grand. And a shocking amount of really cool shit goes from like 10 to 20 grand. Like my full auto transferable Browning 1919 A4. I think I got that for like $17,000. And this beautiful bitch right here, the Lewis machine gun. This one's a transferable, and this one went for like 16 grand, I think. I've got to do a video on this at some point. It's just a wonderful light machine gun. I also just realized I had my chair down in gamer mode for this entire video so far. But yeah, so I only own 2 transferables, and both cost less than 20 grand. Which I understand, that's still a lot of money. But a lot of people seem to have this idea that you need to spend like 30 or 40 grand to buy something cool. The truth is, it's maybe like half that. But again, they are very expensive, which is why I really don't buy them. So let's say you're not trying to spend 20 grand per cool gun. What's the next way? Well, here's where it gets interesting and slightly more complicated. The next way would be dealer samples. Now, this is what a lot of people confuse with, the whole Class 3 license.
This is cool, bro. I have a Class 3 firearms license.
If you hear someone say the words Class 3 license, it's a pretty safe bet that, well...
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
So, slow news week, huh? Yeah, there's a lot of shit going on in the world right now, in case you haven't seen. But what's just as important as keeping up with the news is how you keep up with it. All right, let's face it. Some of you guys out there have 10,000 rounds of 5.56 chilling in the basement just in case. And then you get your global security updates from fucking TikTok. It's honestly why this is a perfect time to talk about a new app called SitRep. Think of it as like the opposite.
Wait, how many guns? Wait, I know. Because over the last few weeks, I've been learning about how guns are so common in the United States. Again, you have to understand, it's so alien to me because I've never physically touched a gun in my life. I've barely seen. The only time you see guns is, let's say you're at the airport and you see some armed police response unit for any for any dangerous that might happen. You barely see, unless if you're a criminal, then you might see some old World War II shotguns. But we barely see guns. So when I hear someone telling me they've got over 50 guns, and he said he's got more than 16 machine guns, that's mad. And they cost like average of 15, 20 grand, 30 grand, and apparently one went for 400 grand. I knew they were gonna be expensive, but I thought they'd be like between like 1 to like 3,000. I was gonna say pounds, but like that's 17,000. So let me know. You guys think it's too expensive? Would you buy one? Do you have one? What do you use it for? Legally? Please, legally, please. Do not use it illegally. Please. Thank you.
Opposite of CNN. While the mainstream media is arguing about pronouns, SitRep is just straight to the point, no spin, telling you about actual threats and military movements that might affect your life. This shit's actually run by the same guys who called the Russia invasion before it happened, not just some random blue-haired journalist with a communications degree. So firing it up now, I've got my map open to Iran, and it's giving me all the updates of what is potentially happening there in the area that I need to be aware of. And a lot of shit I didn't even know was happening, like this little red dot up here by Greece. Let me see what that is. That is North Macedonia. Turns out the North Macedonian president met with President Trump 22 minutes ago at the NATO summit, and I had no idea. It tells you the quick facts, the who, what, when, how, and a little bit of extra context just in case you don't really know what's going on. It's $10 a month and gets you better intel than most government employees. So you can download it using the links in the description and in the pinned comment and try it out. It's free for 7 days. Anyways, we appreciate them for sponsoring the episode. Back to machine guns. So I have an FFL, which is a federal firearms license. I make my living in the firearm business. We build guns, repair guns, a lot for demonstration on the channel, some for friends, and occasionally for sale to the public. But as an FFL, you can check a box that's like an extra $500 to $1,000 per year and get what's called an SOT, which is a special occupational tax. With me so far?
Are you following me, camera guy?
What this special yearly tax allows you to do is possess machine guns, suppressors, and SBRs, SBSs, stuff like that, short barrel rifles and shotguns. But that even extends to machine guns that were made after 1986. I didn't really get into it before, but 1986 is the cutoff. That is when civilians could no longer register machine guns with the NFA because of something called the Hughes Amendment. A lot of people like to blame Ronald Reagan for that one because it was in a bill that he signed. Honestly, aside from that, it's really not a bad bill. It's called the Firearm Owners Protection Act, and it actually, God forbid, stay with me here, does a lot to protect firearm owners.
No way!
A lot of people like to blame Ronald Reagan for the Hughes Amendment, though, even though it was literally named after the New Jersey Democrat who added it to the bill, but whatever. This is the internet. We can't have nuance. We just want to feel shit.
Kill Ronald Reagan! Kill Ronald Reagan!
But anyway, yeah, with an SOT, you can now possess machine guns that were made after 1986.
Sorry, I'm very intrigued. Can someone travel to America? I don't want to say tourist, but if you live in America for let's say like 5 years, you're just living there for like 5 years, you're working there. Can you buy a gun? Or is it just Americans that are allowed to buy a gun? That'd be interesting to know.
And because my FFL is an 07 manufacturer's type FFL, again, it's just like a little box you check. 01, 03, you're like a gun store. 07's a manufacturer. But because I'm an SOT and a manufacturer, I can now make suppressors, short barrel rifles, and machine guns. So as long as I fill out a Form 2 notifying the ATF of what I'm doing, it is perfectly legal for me to take a semi-auto AK, a semi-auto AR, whatever, and convert it to full auto. No $200 tax stamp, no wait period. So what we did with this little bad boy right here. This started life as a semi-auto Yugo M92 PAP. Rebuilt her, added the stock, which would have made this an SPR, but as you can see there, we added the third hole, usually reserved for birthdays and anniversaries. If you didn't get that joke, I will tell you when you're older. So of course, the guns are cheaper, but what does it cost? Well, let's do the math. So my 07 FFL is $150 every 3 years. The SOT is an extra $500 per year. So $150 for 3 years, that's $50 a year. So to be able to manufacture my own machine guns and be able to own machine guns pre or post 86 cost me about $550 per year in licensing. Now, obviously, I am leaving out the cost of operation, right? Employees, the cost of the building, utilities, hookers for the Christmas party, insurance. I mean, these things all add up. So while the real cost is a fuckload more than that, the actual licensing itself only costs about $550 per year. But now instead of buying a $20,000 transferable AK, I can take my $1,000 AK and convert it for the price of parts and labor. So if this is the route you want to take, you might want to brush up on those gunsmithing skills. And if you don't have any and you don't know where to start, maybe consider checking out sdi.edu using the links in the description.
That's very interesting. I never knew, because I thought it's only gun manufacturers that had to, make guns. What's the big one? Something Smithson, something like that. I can't remember. I never knew if you know about guns, you're allowed to, actually just, mess about, change this, change that. I never knew you could do that. I never knew you could do that. I just thought the way the gun comes from the manufacturer, that's the only way it can always be. I never knew you could configure it to be something else. I never knew that. But that's where you'd want someone that knows, like, obviously he knows what he's doing. You don't want some random idiot thinking, oh yeah, I've watched a few videos, I'm gonna go, change this to that, change to that, and then mess up the gun. Yeah, that's what you don't want. Or do you? You don't want that, do you? Yeah.
You don't have any and you don't know where to start, maybe consider checking out sdi.edu using the links in the description and in the pinned comment. Anyhow, pros and cons. Pros, way more cost effective. You also have far less restrictions, such as, you don't have to do individual stamps, far less worry about, individual state laws. And of course, you're not limited to machine guns made only before 1986. Now for cons. For one, you have to be in the business. You can't just be a collector. It actually specifically asks on the form if that's what you're trying to do. And in order to get it with that, you would have to perjure yourself on a federal document. That is rather uncool. You're also now subject to compliance inspections from the ATF to make sure that you're keeping your books up to date and you're complying with the law. Admittedly, the ATF is way more friendly to FFLs in this administration. It's still not awesome.
This house is a fucking prison! I'm playing bullshit!
Now for the last big con. While a manufacturer's FFL can manufacture a machine gun after 1986, it cannot buy a post-86 machine gun from another SOT unless they have what's called a law letter. This is basically a letter of intent to purchase from a law enforcement entity, basically saying that they're interested in buying the gun and they would like you to acquire one to demo it to them or to sell to them. These are a pain in the dick. I've honestly just heard so many horror stories from other SOT buddies that I never fucked with these. I've got law enforcement friends that I could do demos with and whatnot, but honestly, this whole thing just, it sounds like bad juju, and I really just don't want to fuck with it. It would be super cool if there was some sort of way around them. Which leads us to the next one. The next category is called no letters. No letter machine guns are post-86 dealer samples. So machine guns made after 1986 and owned by an SOT that can be sold to any other SOT with, as the name implies, no law letter. So the main reason these pop up is because when an SOT goes out of business, the ATF kind of makes a special exemption for them so that they can sell their existing inventory of machine guns without having to go through all the hassle of a law letter. Basically just a way for them to get all these machine guns to a good and legal home before they close their shop. I buy these all the time. I have a few friends who deal exclusively in no letter guns. There's also websites that I probably shouldn't name because of YouTube, at least in this context. But they're places where people broker guns, like some sort of gun broker, if you will. And price-wise, they are much more reasonable than transferables. I think I bought this 4-position UMP 45 for maybe $4 grand. Full auto ARs and AKs will sell for like a couple grand. Even belt feds like my M60, I'm pretty damn sure I got for less than 20 grand. So
I don't know what it is, but I feel like as a guy, as a man, just seeing a gun, just shooting a gun is something that you get that adrenaline. I've never done before, but I'm just getting that. Obviously, you have to be careful. You have to be careful. But what I'm getting from this is that you have to know what you're doing. You can buy a machine gun, but it takes a lot of steps. That's what I'm getting from it. You have to be ready. You have to. It's not just anyone that's like, if you have, let's say you got one shotgun, I would advise you to just go buy a machine gun. But I feel like it's something that you have to know a lot about guns for like years, for like 15, 20 years. I have like a few other guns and then get into, getting a machine gun. It's not just something you just wake up like, oh yeah, let me go get a machine gun. It looks like you have to be careful. You don't want to perjure yourself. When it said, I think it said you can't be a collector. You can't just be collecting guns, and they won't let you do that. And it's good knowing about it. I never knew about the 1986 law that was signed in by Ronald Reagan. I never knew that. That's so interesting. So most guns that are before 1986, most machine guns, all machine guns before 1986 are expensive. After that, they're not too expensive, but there's little tiny O's you have to do to get them. You have to pay your yearly subscription, which is the 500 to the IFF, ATF. Then you have to pay $50 as well. So much information. Sorry.
I know I've seen the memes where people say like, oh, if machine guns become legal tomorrow, I'm going to buy an M249 saw for $500 at the gas station. Yeah, no, you're out of your fucking mind. Like anything worth having, the shit still does cost money, but it is far cheaper. Like compared to transferables, I would say that no letters are maybe like 75% off. Kind of depends on what you're buying, but I find that to be the case most of the time. Now that's nice and all, but let's say I just don't want to be in the gun business forever, and one day I want to retire and be able to keep some toys and not have to mortgage my house to buy a bunch of transferables. Well, there is a way that I found out about over the years to do just that. Enter the pre-86 dealer sample, or as they're known, keeper machine guns. These are dealer sample machine guns that were still registered with the ATF before 1986, before the cutoff, but as dealer samples, so they're still not transferables. An extra advantage of these, they never need a law letter to transfer, so any SOT can sell a pre-86 keeper machine gun to any other SOT, no law letter, no nothing required. They're essentially like permanent no-letter guns. But there's another super cool thing about these that I didn't know until a couple of years ago. Let's say you retire, you close down your SOT, you give up your FFL. You can actually transfer a keeper machine gun from your SOT to yourself personally. So even though you no longer have an FFL, you do not have an SOT, you, as a civilian with no extra licensing, can own this machine gun even though it is not a transferable. So like this right here, this is an AM-180. Just realized I'm doing a lot with saucer magazines today. You may remember this gun from a video I did a couple years ago with Donut Operator, or just because AM-180s are fucking dope. Super fast rate of fire with like 300 rounds at 22. This thing is just fucking cool, and it looks like a Thompson, so bonus cool points. This bad boy is a keeper machine gun. So even though it's not transferable, when the gang's group chat inevitably leaks and I'm on the run from the CIA, the Mossad,
Group chat.
and the Planet Fitness Loss Recovery Strike Team, I'll be able to own this even though I'm no longer in FFL. I'll be able to retire, sit on my back porch, and plink squirrels at 1,200 rounds a minute while I tell my disinterested grandchildren that at one point I was somewhat popular on YouTube. To which they will, of course, reply, Grandpa, what the fuck is YouTube? So these are the ways that I acquire machine guns for showing off to you guys here on the channel, and a couple of the ways that you yourself can own a machine gun, like how you can own them without getting your dog shot. If you are interested in getting your FFL, I would 100% recommend FFL 123. Years ago when I got my license, they helped me through the whole process. It was worth every dollar I spent. They do not sponsor me. They probably don't know who the fuck I am, but I use their service and I would greatly recommend it to anybody who's looking into it. I know this is a lot different than the normal content, but I get this question all the time. And like 95% of my audience wasn't here when I explained it the first time. And again, I learned new stuff. So I hope that you learned something. If you didn't learn something, I hope it was at least entertaining. And if you just have me playing in the background on your smart TV, I still appreciate you. Being a YouTuber you watch on the smart TV is a great honor, reserved for only my favorite creators. But anyhow, I got a new Darwin Awards coming up for you guys. I got some new range content, some really fun new toys, some of which, I just showed you. Some cool new videos, potentially some cool announcements coming soon. But in the meantime, please make sure that you are subscribed, and if you don't mind hitting that notification bell. I heard we've had some issues with YouTube not sending out notifications lately, so I'm just trying to kickstart that algorithm back up so YouTube stops fucking me, which they are quite fond of doing. Again, sorry my voice was fucked up. Hopefully that wasn't too distracting. I appreciate you guys staying all the way to the end of the video.
That was absolutely sick. I like this guy. I like the way he put the video across. Like, when it was chatting about guns, but you wouldn't even know he's chatting about guns. It makes it so interesting. So literally, I've gone from the person that I used to be against guns. Like, when I hear guns, I'm like, oh, because living here in the UK, the only time you don't hear good news about guns over here, it's always, you always hear about whether it's a school shooting or whether it's some gang member. It's never, they don't talk about guns, helping, saving lives in some way. It's always some negative. They don't talk about people that actually own guns just to collect them, or maybe it's like a toy, or maybe it's just collectible. They don't show that part. They only show the worst part of guns. So that kind of, made me feel like, guns are just no. Now, I wouldn't mind, getting to learn way more about guns. It's good. The more you learn, the better you get as a person. I don't like people that they want to stick to what they know. Just learn as much as you can. Look at me. I've never owned a gun, but I would love to. I don't know. I'll be scared. The first time if I shoot a gun, I'll be so scared though. Ooh. Like I said to you guys, I want a Glock 19. Some of you guys said it's a CC gun, which that's your business. I think it's a nice gun. AK-47, who knows? But I don't think I'll be allowed because I'm a tourist in America. I don't think Trump will let me do that. Who knows? Me and Trump, we're cool. We're brothers. So yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you guys want to see more stuff, like I said, push that notification button, subscribe, and check out that lovely channel. It's an amazing channel. It's my first time checking that channel. Thanks for the recommendations, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye-bye.